We think we're live. We're possibly live. You can never tell. You just never know. Hello and welcome. It's Saturday morning and this is The Art of Rock. Unlike other Saturday mornings, this one has a chill to the air. Oh my God, Windows, why do you suck? Why do you suck? I'm always fighting with fucking bullshit Windows because that's what I do. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge that I'm on the land of the traditional land of the Tongva people in Los Angeles, California. This is The Art of Rock. Every Saturday, we are here talking about rock and roll, getting through depression, getting through writer's block, rejoicing in gear and all sorts of fun things. Woohoo. Much of this is brought to you by, Jesus, fuck, I'm really not focusing this morning. I'm focusing now. That's where it is. Every Saturday morning there, Angelspit's Twitch or the YouTube or the Facebook or whatever. Oh my God. So TextPad, since I've updated fucking Windows, every single time I click away from it, it goes to the bottom of the screen and it is driving me insane. This is made possible with Angelspit's Patreon. Any of you are here, thank you. And we keep each other going. Why does it do this? I don't know. Because I'm really losing my shit right now. I don't know how much of this I'm going to fucking be able to get through. This is the Industrial Noise Incisions playlist, the Industrial Incisions playlist. Go to Spotify, listen to it. And if you find a band that you like there, follow that damn band and realize that by even following that playlist, if you listen to that once a week, you will change those bands. You will change so much stuff about them because you have the power to positively influence people by listening to bands that you've never heard of and thus growing the scene and thus making it worth it for people to keep going, which is something that we're going to be really covering today. If you need some non-stop amazingness, go to MTV TV because it's bloody amazing. After we're done here today, we're going to jaunt all over to MTV TV and it's going to be fucking awesome because there's so much amazing new music you need to listen to on MTV TV. Hello, Diana. Welcome. And a big shout out and thank you to the Razzie for co-hosting this. Razzie's got a YouTube, a Patreon, and a Bandcamp for you, Shriek, that you got to check out because it's bloody awesome.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Appreciate your face. I want to appreciate everybody's voices. We could throw it open today. So the question I'm asking today is, why the fuck do I bother? And the question was originally like videos. I don't really think I could be bothered making videos anymore just for me, because the metrics of people who look at it, the amount of work that's involved, I could be spending that time making music. I could be spending that time, relaxing. I could be spending that time working on promotion and administration, but as much as I really want to make videos, the return on investment, and I'm not talking about money as the investment, I'm talking about give a fuck points for the investment. It doesn't add up anymore. And for me, it hasn't added up for a long time. Because, if I'm going to make some bullshit video that I just, no. And what's really interesting about this is that the way I feel about this, a lot of people feel about their music as well. Like, do I bother making my music anymore because no one's listening? And of course to that I say, oh, well, you should be making music no matter if people are listening or not. But that's not really fair of me to project the way that I do things, as it is for somebody else to say, oh, well, you should be making videos because it's fun. Yeah, it is fun, but there's other things I could be doing. For example, sitting on that couch with my cat watching Lord of the Rings, because enough of my struggles in life is in making music. So I want to know other people's thoughts about how they do this. This is interesting because we covered this a little bit, but I've had a really interesting place because a week I work for a theater company. Hi, Adam and Diana. I work for an LGBT center here in Los Angeles, and I'm one of the techs there. And I was having a very frank conversation with some of the other techs about how exhaustion, endless work is just depleting the creative mind. And theater techs are a curious bunch because you're working all the time. But Isn't everybody working all the time these days? Man, I'm getting emails from LA Opera at 9 o'clock at night saying, hey, can you, and these people are on a wage. Why are you emailing me at 9 o'clock in the night when you're on a wage? When last time I checked, Californian working law states that's 8 hours a day. You started at 9. Why are you working at 9 p.m.? Anyway, that's another rant that gets all angsty. That's why I make music, to let out my angst. But this is turning into therapy. Does anybody else want to jump in this point? And you could do bitch, or you could say something positive. Fucking bring it on, Rezi. What you got?
I was going to ask what the question was because in the middle of all that somewhere I lost track, but then you went and threw it to something useful.
Damn.
I like all your ideas. I like the way you think about this stuff. It's honest and somewhat brutal. And I was totally kidding about turned into something useful because the whole thing is useful. It's a big, huge consideration that we're, as musicians, pushed to make videos in at least 3 different ways, as like your career requires that you do these things: talking to camera and putting it into short clips on social media, doing long form concept videos for your songs, and to a lesser extent lyric videos and things like that, and then also the performance videos sometimes of your work, and some of those replace other things, and some of them have functions that are novel and unique and opportunities. And I think it's difficult being pushed into that for a lot of people. I think it's easy to get pushed into that for a lot of people. So we've got this like total range of how people react to saying, oh, you this is part of your job description now as a musician. There's no hard line between just playing the synthesizer into a recorder and releasing it and playing the synthesizer while there's a camera running. And one of the things that's very different is doing video is what we're on right now. It's like easy to forget, but we are making video content as musicians. The topic is music. The lifestyle and spirit of what we're talking about is musicianship, nominally, to a great extent. And so this is a great example, hopefully, for at least the 4 of us and, well, 3 of us in one chair that are on right now, and the cats and lizards that are participating, of how it can work. This is worthwhile, enjoyable, satisfying, and creates the very, substance that we're talking about, sucking. I don't know. I find the worst part of having to make video as part of the job description of musician, that it has to be done on a schedule in this you have to do it thing, to make it work, to make it trigger algorithms, to make it get beyond the reach of just your closer friends and followers that you end up in their timeline anyway. And I'm thinking primarily Instagram in this case. But Carl, I've seen you talk to camera. I have clicked on the thing and turned on sound because you're talking to camera, and I have been entertained while you're talking to camera, even though I talk to you every week on this, which is sometimes a similar spirit. So I don't know if that's an argument for, hey, you do it and you do it well. Does it actually suck? I guess a question then, when you're doing those things. Does it feel worthless? And what's the difference between what we're doing now, and I suspect it's a 2-way conversation, and those kind of talking to cameras? And I want to throw it out. Does this include turning on the camera to do a performance and sharing that? For anybody who wants to jump in, and I see I've been talking for a long time about it, and I still have thoughts, but I want to hear what Brett and Carl, hopefully, what you have to say about my
Okay.
comments.
No, this is good. This is what I want to hear. Hey, look, a soccer mom just joined us. Oh, look, a soccer mom just joined us, dropping the kids off at soccer, are we? Eric? Sorry.
Yeah, so
Well, I'm glad you joined us because Saturday mornings are crazy for you.
yeah, it is.
Okay, Brett, and thank you, Rezi. That was really handy. This is turning into therapy. I like therapy. Brett, tell me about your childhood.
We ain't got time for that on a Saturday. Nonetheless, my kind of thought towards it was, in initially bringing this up is, I'm thinking about trying to make like music videos in that traditional style, but that's never really been, I mean, I've enjoyed them, but I didn't grow up with MTV, so I was one of the ones with the antennas, and I had 3 channels. Um, so for me, music videos have always been uh, that kind of AI, not AI, it was pre-AI, but the music visualizers that you like found in Winamp and such, and you could throw your entire library in there and smoke a little and just watch the pretty colors along with the beat. Um, so I do not find myself motivated to create this thing that is like television put to music. I don't, I'm not trying to create the next musical. um, but there's problems with that because when you put up some sort of visualizer, and I know Eric has plenty of these as well, and rock on. Um, the only thing that the only thing I have against that, and it's not even my thing really, is that it seems like there's a stigma against these sort of videos, and that they're viewed as lazy and whatnot. And I'm kind of like, well, if that's going to be the takeaway, why not I just sit there and kick my shit up on a freaking visualizer and enjoy it for myself? Um, and that was kind of my thoughts going into it. But to Razzy's point, um, things like this, I don't have a single issue with, and rather enjoy it. Go hang out with my friends on Saturday and bash ideas back and forth. That's cool as hell. I don't have any problem with that.
No, thank you. This is interesting. One thing I am going to throw in is expectation versus desire. And Eric, I see your hand, and I'm very interested to hear what you said. Just give me 1 second. See, one thing that this constantly goes back to, and that reminds me of something. Diana, please add the following track to the playlist. That it's always about the expectation versus what you want to do. And the thing that really fucking pisses me off, cue rant where Carl says fuck a lot, is that it's not even people fucking making demands of the expectation anymore. It's about a fucking algorithm that just wants to create dumb bullshit fucking content. And I really think I want to start doing videos of me sitting beside the pool in a bikini. And I want to make sure that I don't shave my pubic area, and I looked as much like a big fuzzy bloody white fat chicken as I possibly can, wearing an itty bitty fucking bikini, just so I can say go fuck yourself. And when I said tell me about your childhood, Brett, what you're supposed to say is, at the tender age of 3, I was hooked to a machine just to stop my mind from sprouting junk. They all took me for a fool, something, because they said that I had the funk. I got
It
the
didn't
lyrics
work,
wrong.
Carl.
Thomas Dolby, hyperactivate. Diana, add it to the playlist. And by the way, the playlist that we have is all the songs that we crap on about each week, and we added a whole bunch of fucking Van Halen last week because that's how you do it. Eric, fucking enlighten me now.
I hope you got some David Lee Roth in there too. Some Skyscraper Paradise. Winamp whips the llama's ass. You guys remember that? That was so great. So I use FL Studio, and FL Studio has a visualizer built into it as part of it. So it's not even a heavy lift to go from a song, even an uncompleted song, to a visualizer. So on one hand, I'm like, well, that's a bare minimum. I got to do at least a visualizer. And then I quit doing them after a while because I just felt it was a lot of the same over and over. I think there's places for them. Then there's the visualizers with all the lyrics, the lyric ones, and I'm not a big fan of that. I did one, and then I took it down, and then I did another one where it just emphasized the chorus, because the word kill needs to be emphasized as much as possible. And right now, and then one of our best videos, I think, highest quality videos, called I Self Me. It was we painted a black background, and we got a chair from a friend that we borrowed that looked really cool, and we got a smoke machine and some creative lighting, and we just we just did a pretty simple, low cost video. And then the second best video is a cover of a Vile song we did. I don't remember what song it was, but it's just like that fisheye lens singing into the iPhone, and it was easier to do it into the iPhone for editing and getting it done than it was to go different camera angles and all of that stuff. And then right now we're working on one for a new single called Panopticon. So the song is about the club Panopticon. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I got to do a video of the club, So we went in there, and I had my cell phone on a gimbal and did a lot of videos. And then people came to be in the video and dressed up for it, and so they get to be featured in it, stuff like that. And now the second part is I'm trying to do a narrative where it's one dancer where she's getting ready and she's going into the club, and so I'm going to follow her around. We're kind of writing it out, but it's a lot of work. It was easier just to go to the club and record all that stuff and just call it a day and say that's the video. But I know for this one, I personally just want to make the extra effort to go and film it. I'm doing it all myself with this extra narrative, and I just keep dragging on. I want to be done like a month ago, and I never got around to it. But I think every song, I mean, in order for it to do well with any algorithm, it has to have some kind of visual element to it, even if it's a short loop. Every song that you upload to Spotify should have a canvas on it, or that 7-second loop.
I'm going to stop you right there. Thank you so much. We've strayed off what we were talking about, and that is, I don't give a fuck anymore. And that I'm out of batteries and I'm out of fucks to give, because the time of sucking an algorithm's cock, let's be really clear, and getting some algorithm action sprayed into my ropes in my eye, I'm fucking done. And I see, that's always love what you talk about as far as like videos and stuff. But the thing about it is that some of us are desperately losing hope. And some of us, let's get real, are really towing the line of why the fuck am I doing this art? And that also extends into breathing oxygen into our lungs. So what I'm wanting to know is, with the whole return on investment, firstly, what the fuck is the investment? Secondly, what can I say to somebody who just says, I don't want to make music anymore because no one's listening, no one's giving a fuck? That's what I want to know. What can I pour petrol on and set it on fire? And then go, I'm not even going to piss on this thing to put it out. What can I destroy right now? What beautiful thing can I ruin that is going to fucking reignite the punk rock in my brothers, sisters, and others of this fine fucking tribe of beautiful freaks? So I want, if I can then, because I know that you've got a whole bunch of fuck off in you, Eric. So I want you to take the whip, and I want you to gag me, bend me over that chair, and let's make a video like that.
All right, I'm hopping on a plane coming to LA. I'll be there tomorrow.
All right.
Hey,
tell me, go.
Yeah. So I think it all started with fuck off for me anyway. It's like I never felt like I was making music for other people, but when I did, it was almost like, I'm going to make you like the thing I like. It's like, I'm going to make you like the thing you think you don't like. And that's like a different spin on it. And then other times it's like, I never felt like I was like, success for me is not like 10,000 streams a month or 5,000 or 100,000 on Spotify or a certain number of sales. Success for me is getting to the end of a song and releasing it. And if only one person ever listened to it, I probably would be bummed out if no one ever streamed it. But at the same time, it's for me, most of them. And when someone asks me, like, if they're thinking about not doing it, I'm like, I believe you got to be creative every day. And if I don't have a creative outlet, I'm going to fucking kill someone, probably not be successful in life and not be able to get anything else done. I'll go crazy. So to me, it's really, what are you doing it for and why? If you're really trying to get into it and make it become a pop star and do all that, that's a heavy lift, and only a few people are going to be able to do that. But if you're doing it for, yourself and some internal thing, it's going to be more authentic anyway. It has a better chance of being successful. But it could be learning more, it could be getting better at it, but it's an outlet. I mean, if you don't have that outlet, are you going to tear someone's head off when you go into your job that day or go walking down the street?
Perfect. Thank you so much. Razzie, what you got?
The challenge is to remove the friction between setting that fire, turning your camera on, and making sure that when what are we burning, a chair, or is that what we're bent over? Whichever it is, that you're documenting it, because whether or not the revolution will be televised, it is certainly going to exist in short form video clips people can share and put your music along with. And whether or not we are trying to create an identity or build moment to moment expression through video, it does that. When you document yourself for 5 seconds, 15 seconds, when you do something dramatic for 15, 30 seconds, when you do something mundane and talk about it and share it for, a minute, like, these are the low bar, zero friction, turn on a camera and do something, moment to moment things that people can skip or click on. And when they do click on or turn on the audio or stop and listen to it, it's something for them. It's something for me. When I see a moment that's not just a still in the timeline and I keep the audio off and somebody's got lips flap and there's some captions going and a chair burning with somebody bent over it and a whip in their ass. Well, maybe I don't stop on that one because I don't want to pollute the algorithm, but let's say I do. Oh, cool, it's the tune, and this says the tune, and I just gave the tune another spin on the Spotify, and the numbers go up, and it can't be so precious and expensive to put a video in that timeline that you even care if you're feeding the algorithm or not. It can't be, and this is a survival tactic I'm talking, not a can't like value judgment. I have seen super interesting things that are very, very low effort. And Eric, you talk about even bothering to put the fucking phone on a gimbal. Like, that's production value that you don't need to add for the moment to moment stuff, for the my guitar is out of tune, I fixed it. I don't know if that's even a good example. But I think that there's something to lowering the fucks that you have to give by lowering the friction to turn the camera on and make a video, and lowering the expectation that it's going to move a huge number of any sort. Because if we're worried about the algorithm and it's worried about whether we're tuning our content to match that and increase engagement, then we're not in the moment and doing the thing. And I think doing the thing is still super important and can be, even for people who are burned on appeasing the algorithm, part of their musical persona and part of the expression thing. I don't live it, I don't do it. I try to do it every day, and I try not to feel bad when I don't do it. But the fact that, Carl, you have strong feelings about video either means there's a prominence there in the culture that needs to be addressed, or you have something that can be achieved, something that can be cracked and made better, or something that can be gotten past to do more of it. I'm not sure exactly what the goal is there, but one of those things might be true. I don't think these are solutions. I think they're tactics, though, in your arsenal.
I agree. Thank you. It's very interesting that for me, the thing I struggle with so often is, as I mentioned before, the expectation versus the desire. What you are expected to do, what you are supposed to do. Maybe this is something going into therapy now that I've been dealing with my entire life, that what you're supposed to do. And I can't speak on behalf of other people because I don't know. But what I do know is that there are so many things that I just find I can't do because I don't care enough. And it's interesting that does care equate to love? I don't have enough love for that. The love I have is for change, for the betterment of people, for people to find out who they actually are. That's my calling of love. And to the question that I ask is that who are you? And what do you do? And how do you express the punchline to this pointless joke? What do you do? Who are you? How do you express the punchline to this pointless joke? And by the way, you're allowed to laugh. That's part of the punchline. Being authentic is absolutely everything. I remember Mike the Liar once told me that, and it was like, I do agree, but that's the hardest thing in the world, is to be authentic, to be actually truly who you are. Because as I've said before, and as I'll say again, your audience predominantly is a representation of you, people who agree with you or are on the same plane of thought, processing, a point to life, etc., as you are. So therefore, if you are authentic, they can relate to it and they can rally behind that. The AI is just the expectation of trends. It's really interesting. I got something mastered, and I'm doing the album for May May Graves currently. God damn it, May May Graves can write a good track. And it was really interesting that when it comes to mastering, there's an expectation of what streaming is doing. And I was really grateful that I've been researching this a little bit and looking into it. And there was this big backlash against what the luff amount is. I don't fucking care. That people just don't give a shit. I want it to sound good. I want it to pump. I want it not to pump, whatever it is. That whatever that expectation is, fuck it. And once again, putting non-existent hurdles up. You want to get to a place, but it is your nature, our nature, my nature, to put up a hurdle. And that hurdle might be, I don't have the right gear. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. This isn't what I'm expected to do. And that's where I'll leave that. Eric, what are you thinking?
Something earlier you're saying made me think about, it's funny because there's this algorithm that we live by. Like, we are the algorithm though, because it's serving up to us what we click on and what we ask for. So if we're going down a dark spiral, we tend to see more stuff that's that dark spiral. If we click on more puppies and kittens, we see more puppies and kittens, and there's always other stuff in there. It's interesting if you ever, get off your account, sign in with like a new burner account or with nothing, the stuff that comes up is so different than what you see. And it's interesting when you see someone else's feed, and I'm like, oh man, Joe Rogan like pulled up his feed the other day. Of course, guess what it is? It's all conspiracy theory stuff, and I don't see any of that stuff. But I understand when he's talking, he's like, man, all there is on the feed is conspiracy theory stuff. So I see a lot of people get stuck in like on Sounds and Shadows group, for example, on Facebook. They'll get really down and bummed out because no one's listening to their music, no one's clicking on their art. They don't feel like they have the right things. But people are trying to be supportive and people are trying to help, but it seems like the more you put that online, the more the algorithm's going to feed that back to you from other people and other things as well. And it doesn't lift you out. It just double downs on what you're feeling.
thank you. Yes, very good observation. Thank you. Raz.
Oh, man, getting like on the suggested videos main view of YouTube when you're not logged in is a weird fucking thing. I mean, like I've heard of all the names that are on that page, but then I realize like who they are and what it's about, and it's like I don't know, maybe I'm proud to say my feed when I'm logged in looks like scope views of waveforms and electronic components being soldered and you know like industrial spiky haired guy and goth girl, like that's the entire thing. It's oh, and engineering videos about civil engineering, so uh, a couple of bulldozers and earthen berms for good measure. Just wanted to make sure that that's understood. Um, but the key thing that Eric's saying there that goes like it's the end run around what Carl's saying, like the burnout and the not feeling like it's worth it to do this stuff and the love for this stuff versus how you train your entertainment systems to deliver stuff that might make you feel more encouraged and like it's worth it. I know there's this gap with your own numbers when you're the person making this stuff. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is one of the worst offenses and transgressions that Spotify made, is to put monthly listeners as the metric and cause that to be such a token of success and allowing you to have features of the platform to even compound your success rely on that number. And it's public and it goes up and down and it's like real time and it's right next to your name, if I'm not mistaken. And the same thing goes with the video that you just put up about nothing. Like, you want numbers on it. That's the sort of the point of doing it. You want the exposure. You bother to do it. And I can't really reconcile those two things. It just came to mind as Eric, you were saying it, and Carl, your words echoing in my head. But there's something about, I don't know, man, maybe it's a meditative state of letting go of the attachment to those successes and doing the stuff into a vacuum, enjoying when there's some success or connection, or you got your words across correctly, or there's maybe it fits in well with some other things that you've done or said, or you realize something about yourself. Like, there's so many other reasons that making a thing, still in the context of video, can be meaningful and fulfilling and satisfying. And I don't know, like, I don't know how that turns into making it worthwhile for a person, but it does become more authentic. It plays into that, self-expression, and this is just where our friends are and our fans.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Eric, what are you thinking?
Yeah, to build off what Raz is saying, it's interesting because I think it's easy to say, hey, you just got to do what's good for you. But I've talked to people and they're like, man, how come you don't care that someone put some negative comment on your song or said something, or they totally ignored your song? I said, well, I'd rather have a negative comment than being totally ignored. There's people who never even get negative comments, so, but it doesn't bother me, and that's just kind of my nature. But other people, that's not their nature. Everything bothers them. And no matter what we say to them, you say, don't let it bother you, it's for you or whatever. It's not gonna change anything. Sometimes it makes it worse. But the other thing I was going to mention is that I did this experiment in June. I'm going to do it again, I think, for the next month. Is every day I pulled up my YouTube stream, and when you put your mouse over a video, it automatically plays the clip, the sound. And I just turned on my DAW, started recording. I just put my mouse over each one, and I recorded like 10 minutes, just going through the algorithm. And it's interesting because it's a snapshot of what you're watching and what is in your life at that time. It's on my SoundCloud. You can see like 5 or 6 of them that I still left up there from June. But if I did it versus someone else did it, I'm going to have a whole bunch that are like music related. And like Raz was saying, it's going to be industrial, connecting circuits together, production ones. If someone else did, it's going to be UFOs are real. It's going to be anti-Republican for someone else, anti-Democrat, You know, it's going to be cat and dog videos for other people. But it's interesting because it gives you a snapshot, and I'll go back and listen to just what was in June, and I'll go, man, that is like a real snapshot of what I was being fed that time based on what I normally look at. And I think I'm gonna do that again. And then I just drew it, put it out, and then you know, people actually have clicked and shared those for some reason, but I've never seen anybody relate to it. But it's just something that I thought was interesting from my perspective. But and at first I was just going to keep them, but then I'm like, oh, I'll put it out, and it wasn't intending for getting 1,000 likes or 1,000,000 likes or whatever. It was just intending, maybe someone else has the same mindset and gets this without me even having to explain it.
Thank you very much. I used to do this thing when I was younger, where I would sit and I'd record 3 seconds, 1 second, change channel, record, change channel, record, change channel on VHS, because it's how hardcore I am. So there was a little between each one, and it was absolutely fantastic. Fucking so good. I have 2 questions. Actually, I want to focus on the first one first. How do you reawaken the 14-year-old punk? That's something to think about here, because I guess what I'm saying is that I have been, and so many others have been, crippled by life, that the drive, the desire, that the blade has been broken of the need to make music. How do you find that again? And if you're going to say, oh, just walk away from it, I don't want to fucking hear that. Like, really? So, you know, what could you say to someone to encourage them to find that 14, because like really, when you're 14 and you've just discovered a synthesizer or something and all you want to do is make trouble, ba-boom. So I'm going to throw that out there. Boing. Razi, answer the question or
Yeah, no, that's perfect. It's perfect, man, because like Eric was talking about this culture surfing with the pointer and letting it play back. And like we have to be responsible for creating that counterculture. Otherwise, everything looks like the non-logged in feed, and it's, you know, smiling faces with the O face hands thing, like just all across the board. And if you feel as though you've got some inclination to do something that's not the mainstream, that only 1/10 of the people are going to get, that only 1% of the people are going to get, that only reduce it, you know, ad infinitum, or ad absurdum. The value of what you're doing is that much greater for the individual people who are putting their pointer over the videos and grabbing a little piece of your weird counterculture. And if you're not making it, you're fucking things up for your own future and for other people's algorithms. So I don't know if the 14-year-old gets that, but that's why the 14-year-old has to fucking get out there and turn on his stupid phone camera and get a shitty video of something weird that he saw that day. It's essential.
Absolutely, yes. And I thank you. Brett, what are you thinking?
So I think in order to kind of capture the essence of that 14-year-old self, you have to embrace a certain amount of immaturity. So for example, last week we were talking about, you know, staying up late and doing that stuff and working on music and whatnot. Those would be activities that, you know, 14-year-old Brett got to get away with all the time. It didn't matter. So, and a lot of the things that come with that, the ideas and whatnot, you know. So, an example, I was 3D printing a skull. The print failed, and now on my shooting range is the lower half of a skull. I'm going to rip it apart with a 50 cal air gun later on today. And, you know, with that comes jokes that I make with Melissa, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but destruction makes me giggle. treat the synthesizers the same way. When you have time, and the challenge to that is having the time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Eric, what are you thinking?
It's interesting because I think this is a real thing in everything. It's not just music and stuff. I hear it everyday life in my day job and all that. And I'm usually the guy people go to like what we call it is like energize people and like get them energy and stuff like that. I think referencing kind of that 14-year-old spirit is like referencing, remember when we were freer and we weren't obstructed by the rules and the regulations and all these guardrails that we're in today. And I think it's still in the same spirit, but I wanted to give a little different take is it's like if I have some people on my team that are developers and they're going and they're going to work at a client, and we go in and I hear some go, hey, when you're over there, ask them what other work we can do so we can sell them more work. Those developers aren't salespeople. They're not comfortable doing that stuff. But if I go in and go, hey, what do you see that you don't like that you could do better over there, that you would do a different way? How would you do it? And I think a lot of times it's just kind of, and then they go, oh, there's this, no problem. They see the things that they think are broken or don't like. And they go, this is how I would do it better. And you just see this energy coming them. And then they want to leave the room conquering something. I'm going to go conquer that thing. And the other day, someone has asked me about reaching out to producers I don't know and other people for remixes or collabs. And I reworded it in the same way. I was like, well, what if you reached out with a way for you to help them first, and then you ask, not just an ask, and they go, oh man, I could help this person, or I could add value here, and they get energized. And I feel like there's some kind of crossover with that and kind of that punk rock, just lighting a fire in you, waking you up for that moment, you know.
That's excellent. Thank you very, very much. I'm reading all these amazing comments. Does anybody else want to throw in on this? My takeaway has been as far as video goes, have it set up and stop giving a fuck. Just stop giving a fuck. Because really, yeah, do it for you. Do it for the passion of why, you know, you do this. Do something that is going to help you right now. That's my thoughts. Does anybody else want to throw in on this? Do we want to change subject? We don't actually have another subject in the clip. Do we want to talk about something else that isn't Ableton? Yeah, but you're an algorithm. Oh. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, I know. Or Cubase. Okay, I'll throw something out, and that is, when does paid SoundCloud become viable? Does anybody have thoughts on this? As in research, do you have research on this? Like, I only bring this up because we brought it up about a year ago. We were talking about, maybe, God, it was 2 years ago. We were talking about how at that stage SoundCloud was not very viable to pay for. And my question is, has anybody actually experimented with it? Has anybody found anything different? Eric, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so there's like the free version, and then if you want to upload videos or something, and you get a few other features like discography discounts and coupon codes, I think, with the paid version. I've only used the paid version for like the last 3 or 4 years, so I can't remember what it was before that. And I think it allowed me to have, I don't remember, but it seemed like there was key features I needed, but I think it's paid for itself. I mean, it slowly erodes itself, the value of it over time as you keep paying for it. Maybe you don't release anything for a few months, but I only use that to sell, so I don't kind of spread the cost across other platforms as well, except for, you know, Apple streaming Amazon streaming and those things. But that's the only place to get the physical CDs. I thought about opening a store to do it. Spotify. I'm not Spotify, Shopify. And it was actually more expensive just for the basic startup monthly fee than it is for kind of Bandcamp. We did get to the number where you get like a lower percentage or discount or something like that. And then there's those Fridays where they remove the fees, you know, which is nice because you make 15% more or whatever it is. But now you're competing with the whole entire world and probably don't get as many sales as you might do if you put the same kind of effort into another day. But it seems like it's a necessary evil. And there was a couple other websites that like Banzu or Zoogle or something like that that I looked at, and they just didn't get the traffic that Bandcamp does. And I think at the end of the day, it's the visibility, the traffic. There's features I wish it had. I don't understand why we don't get paid for streaming on that thing. And we don't have a better playlist system so we could promote our stuff better. That would really make it a lot more valuable to me.
Thank you very much. Very insightful. Ivan, what are your thoughts on this shit?
So SoundCloud, the like artist paid for version, I think reasonably valuable for me. Don't know about other people, but you know, like it's working for me because you know, like I always have a place where I can always, you know, like it's my starting point for any release. You know, it gets uploaded there first. You know, it's easy for me to go in and iterate the version of a song so that, you know, people can follow the production of it as it goes along. And from there, it's easy to, you know, push that out to, you know, all of the other streaming sites, including Bandcamp. You know, so like that is for my music, that is the entry point. And you know, it comes with features like get followers and you know make playlists and when you release a new track, you can, you know, like they will you know, as part of the paid tier, like you can get that track recommended to other listeners for like a day. And like that has turned out to be fairly valuable because, you know, I'll hit like 300 listens in a single day, you know, from that.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you. I actually want to throw this to Razzie if I could, please, and then I'll throw it to you, Eric. Razzie, what you got?
The two Spotify things are like you can be an artist that doesn't pay, or you can be an artist that pays $9 a month and $8 a month, and that's called Next Pro. I just called up the information because I didn't remember. But if you're using that as your digital distributor and not using the others, that is a monthly fee that you could justify as being worthwhile just for the distro to the streaming services. And that would be your sort of break-even calculation there. Like, what are you paying? Are you doing a monthly rental one? Or are you doing a one-time fee one? If you replace your distro with this, at least you know what the fee is for unlimited send to distribution. The other features are debatable about how valuable they are. Not debatable, they remain to be seen per case. There's no predicting if their push to their algorithmic fan feed is going to benefit you. But I think the one main thing to calculate it on is the $8 a month worth it for digital distribution. Maybe the private unlisted track sharing could be valuable too because it's timeline based and you can do commenting and stuff. That's a pretty cool value, but it doesn't figure into the return on investment at all. The only thing that really does is the value of their send to digital distribution in my mind. And there may be some other things that other people find
That's very
cash
interesting.
value in.
Thank you very much. Because also my question is, because I know that there's a promotional thing built into it as well. Blah blah blah. Eric, what are your thoughts?
Man, I totally had a brain fart and thought you said SoundCloud. Yeah, I mean Bandcamp. So let me. So SoundCloud, I feel like they're when I started adding on all these things, it pisses me off because they're nickel and diming you on everything in SoundCloud. And then the first time I looked into the artist stuff and their paint, it literally doesn't load, doesn't it breaks all the time when I was first getting into it. Then they charged me to be able to have the app on my phone. Then they charged me to be able to have so many different songs on there. Then they wanted to charge me more. And it's like ridiculous, all this nickel and diming that they're doing. And it's not a great platform. Um, I agree with what I've been saying. There's some bonus there. I experimented with some of that, and I just nothing stuck and nothing turned into like valuable, like followers or listens or streams, or didn't turn into fans on other platforms. So I didn't see the value. And every day I think about like canceling the thing. But the biggest benefit I get from SoundCloud is just using it to upload my songs that I'm working on, hearing it kind of after you listen to it, stream it on different devices through SoundCloud, and then be able to share it with other people, collaborate with versions of songs where you can put comments and stuff on your private songs where you say, hey, I like this part, change this part, that part. I like that as a tool, and I keep looking for that somewhere else so I can stop paying for SoundCloud. I just wish it was better. I even tried getting a job there like a year ago because I wanted to work there and make it better. Didn't work.
Good on you. Razzie, I saw your hand.
Yeah, disco.ac is the song commenting and sharing. Send it to people with a bookmark or password thing. I haven't bought an account with them, but it keeps coming up, and every time it comes up, the features and look and feel and performance seem like really well tuned for what musicians need to share song files privately for
Excellent.
a fee.
Thank you. You know, the reason I ask is because you know, there's 10,000 different platforms going, give me $10 a month and I'll take care of everything, will be fine. $10 a month. And for you know, the musicians who don't have a lot of money or any money, it's exceedingly difficult to actually, you know, make a headway. Interesting thing about Bandcamp is that my sales have dropped drastically on Bandcamp. In fact, over the years, the great thing about Spotify and a lot of streaming is that there's more metric now. And I can see that my brand has actually grown across all algorithms. And across all services. Yet my Bandcamp has just dropped off completely. And the main time I sell shit is actually Bandcamp Friday. And I give stuff away on Bandcamp Friday, but people, like, I'll do it for free. And people will, you know, throw me a tip. I guess my thing is that I don't want to get bogged down in Jesus, it's hard, it's really hard. That's not my point. I'm trying to figure out what is a creative way to, let's say you have no money, because Angelspit started with no money. A lot of risk, a lot of ballsiness, and a lot of really cool ideas. And an organized, strategic way to exercise those ideas. And I fucking swear by everything that if you have that attitude now, you will push through. And tenacity, oh my God, tenacity, fucking tenacity. And I'm just trying, I'm constantly thinking, like, because, you know, as has been mentioned, there's a lot of artists and stuff who are, and the whole point of today's conversation has been people who have lost hope or don't have a lot of hope or need encouragement or whatever because they're not getting plays and listens. I guess I'm just trying to always figure out how do you push through it? How do you make more stuff happen? Like, you know, I'm working on several projects right now that have really minimal plays, but we've got to get them up there. And, you know, I am set like I'll be quick. One, you're not going to like this. Spotify. Pitch to Spotify. Claim your Spotify artist and do a pitch run. Two, claim you can't really do much on YouTube, but you can on Amazon Music. You can't really do anything at all on fucking Apple Music, but you can on Amazon. Claim all of them. Claim your Tidal, your Pandora. You can do kind of campaigns on those guys as well that will push your music to people, because people are still listening on those things. It takes time. It's very boring. But if you have a pitch for one, you just apply that pitch to all of them. It takes like 5 minutes to do a pitch. So claim your artist name. And I'm going to shut up because I see Brett's hand.
I guess the only thing I was really going to say, as far as like encouragement or anything like that, is, you know, principally you got to want to do it for you, and you know, it's got to bring you some sort of it's got to be selfish enjoyment. It's got to be really a very selfish act, you know, that you choose to share with others. I don't have a very elaborate or complicated way to stretch that out, but at the end of the day, that's where that tenacity, that work, the rubber meets the road, you know.
And I thank you for that. And also organization, if you choose for that to happen. But I absolutely agree with what you say, Brett. Thank you. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I like where you're going with that, Carl. Because if you're not taking the free stuff from Spotify and doing it, no matter how you feel about it, you're missing out, right? And just doing the pitch, you can reuse all that for other stuff too. You can repitch that anywhere. You could put that in a press release and send that to, when you send it to DJs. I've been doing reviews and interviews on Regen the last few months, and we constantly get, Elker's going to kill me in like 10 minutes when he sees this. We constantly get submissions with no information, nothing. It's just the music, and there's no info file, there's no write up, nothing. And you know, it's like you don't even put that effort in, yet you're upset because people won't put the effort in on listening to your song. But it's like there's effort that if you put in, it returns so much for you. Now you can reuse that press release. Someone asks you, hey, can you send me this? It's already done. Send it to them. If you want to submit for interviews, those are free. Almost every website has a contact page. Say, send this interview. Even Bandcamp has a process for getting featured and all of that. It's like 30 days before the release. So you really got to be planning ahead. But if you look for it, I would share the link here, but I don't have it.
I need you to tell me about that.
Okay, I'll share it. I'll share it with you. They walk you through. It's like 10 steps on exactly how to submit something. It's about 30 to 40 days before your release comes out. And you're reusing that stuff for your Spotify submission. You're reusing that for other things. But the one thing that I spend a lot of time on, and this isn't for everybody, is Twitch. And it's not me streaming on Twitch. It's me going in other channels that would play my music or people that would listen to my music, and just being there and being part of the conversation, being part of the culture. And my music gets played 8 out of 10 times just by being in the chat, and it wouldn't have got played before if I didn't jump in there. But just talking to people start talking about you. I built most of our brand just by jumping in chats and going through like 10 different shows every week around the world. And it's putting the effort in, and you got to be willing to put the effort in. But once you get that write up and you get that pitch, it's copy and paste and having that stuff ready. But you got to use everything, like you said, claim the names, own the stuff, get the things you can, get the Instagram name for your band, get the Facebook name, all of that. You're not even committing to putting content on there. Just get those things. So it's easy for people to get to it. There's too many Instagram accounts, Facebook accounts, and band pages that have no way or no easy way to even get to their music. They don't have a link to their music. They're talking about their music and they go, hey, I got a new album out. Okay, where's the link? They're not even putting a link in there, or it's not at the top of their page or anything. And all that's free. It's just having to make it easy for people to get to your music as like the first kind of barrier to get past.
Thank you. We're gonna double back around to this. Thank you very much, Rezi, for the Bandcamp guide. I didn't even know about this, and I've got to do a listening party because I just have to do a fucking listening party. So I want to just pick this up. I'm working on Mei Mei's new album. As previously mentioned, Mei Mei's a fucking good writer. Like, oh my god, Mei Mei's a really good writer. And this is the one paragraph for the new track, which is called "Suicide Bride," featuring Lorelei K, she's fucking amazing, and Angelspit. Mei Mei Graves comes back from the dead with Lorelei K's haunting vocals at her side for "Suicide Bride," featuring Angelspit's powerful touch. The track is guaranteed to terrify guests at your next Halloween party. That's a really, really, really good little blurb, because that's just mentioned names. It's told you the vibe of the track, and a whole bunch of stuff has been mentioned in that thing. It took Mei Mei under a minute to write that. And if you have trouble writing this shit, use an AI, use ChatGPT. So with this, when it comes time to pitch it onto Spotify, that's what we're going to slot into the Make It Newsworthy. Also, because this track has been uploaded with Angelspit and Lorelei K as primary vocal artists, that means it's going to be appearing in 3 pitches. Angelspit, Lorelei K. So that means as soon as it comes out, and do this when you remix, make sure the remix artist is also a primary thing, and make sure the fucking remix artist fucking pushes your shit. When it comes up on their Spotify feed, they push it, because it will work in their favor as well. It will get more fucking traffic into them, because they're going to show up on my feed, on my followers, and everywhere else. Oh my God, but people don't do it. So this is what you slot in at that pitch for Spotify. That's what you slot in for the Pandora, Tidal, and Amazon Music pitch. When you're doing a tweet, there it is. I will say new on Spotify when it's launched. I don't bother with pre things because no one fucking saves it. Boom, there it is. And with your appropriate hashtags and a link to the Spotify. Then I will say Apple Music. Then I will say Pandora. And I'll do a pitch onto YouTube, a thing onto YouTube with the YouTube link to YouTube Music. This is what I refer to as admin. This shit you've got to do. You must do it. It fucking sucks, but you gotta do it. And you know, this is the thing I notice with so many artists is that, look, man, I want to complain too about how fucking shit everything is. I really do. I want to sit in my room all day and play with my Moog 1. That's what I want to do. Actually, you know what? I don't, because that would drive me fucking crazy. Nothing against the Moog 1. It's just that music is a really fucking arduous profession, because you're alone, and it's you and your thoughts are out to get you and out to fuck you up. And if you're going out to clubs every couple of nights, I'm sorry, you're doing this wrong. And don't say you're mingling with fucking DJs. It's a bastard of a profession. It really fucking is. You've got to do at least half of what you do must be administration and promotion. You know, there's a whole bunch of really horrible Facebook groups and Reddit groups where, you know, you probably should post, and they're going to say some shitty, nasty things about you and your band, but you got to post. You've got to do this stuff. It's the fucking hard yards, and you got to do it. It's not like I'm going to get a record label to do it. No, you're not, because record labels aren't going to want to fucking touch you, and they're not going to do it for you unless you, like, oh my God, don't even start me. But yeah, I'll echo what you said, Eric, about sending stuff to reviews. The trick with a review is you write the review for them. You submit a bio that has a blurb about the band, a blurb about the release, and a quote from you about this release and why it's fucking awesome. And then the reviewer is going to get it, copy and paste it, and stick it in the review, because that's what they do. It's what news, like when they send a press release to the news, you'll notice that it's basically the same text on every fucking channel, because they're copying and pasting from the bio. That's what that's what a press release is for. Press people do not have time to write fucking endless copy. They don't have fucking time. Plus they can read it. They can look at your when you send in a one pager, you're going to have core words and you're going to have hashtags and you're going to have genre similarities. So they can go, oh, cool, wow. And I'll always add David Lynch because it's cool. That looks cool. I'll fucking read that shit. There you go. And also, if you write a press release, this stuff's got to be wham, bam, exciting, exciting, exciting. Yeah, go, go, go. Eric, your bios are always very good like that. Like, they've got to be super high energy. Like, fuck, man, I'm excited. Like, here's a piece of advice I give people and they hate me for it, but fuck you. Are you ready for this advice? Are you fucking ready? This is the most horrible advice anyone has ever given you, but it's fucking true. Are you ready? Here it is. No one gives a fuck about your shitty little band. Make them. Make them give a fuck about your shitty little band. Because the problem is that there's 100 million shitty little bands out there. Sorry. And no one gives a fuck. But the bands aren't giving people a reason to give a fuck about them. My reason is that I'm an outspoken idiot twat who's always got something stupid and smart ass to say about everything. That's my shtick, because that's who I am. What's yours? Think about it. And that's based on who you are. If you're the youngest of the family and you're a total pain in the ass, use that. I do. Look where it's got me. Eric.
that was gold, man. I was going to just add to what you were saying earlier too, is that, you know, that bio and that writing that stuff, you're not going to be great at it at first, but you're going to be, I don't know, my car's doing something weird, but you're going to be better at it after you do it the first time. You're going to get better at it. You're going to get better and better at it. So you're going to start getting the right details, and then you just got to start somewhere. But that same content should be in below any post, if you have it uploaded in a visualizer on YouTube. It should be in anything that you're putting out there. It should be in those details. So it's a starting point for you just to put that everywhere. But like you were saying, is like in that Maybe Graves one, you know, it's very specific. It gets them to a certain place. Know what your call to action is. That's what marketing calls it. Your call to action, your CTA is, where do you want to drive them? If you say available on all streaming platforms, now you're sending them 20 different places, 40 different places. Send them to Spotify. Send them to a playlist on Spotify that you created with that new song at the top and then your songs after that. You know, send it to a playlist with other bands that are bigger than you with you on there. We've talked about that before on here. You know, do that. Give them a reason to give a fuck, because they don't. It's like when people say, oh, that baby's cute. All babies aren't cute. Sorry. All bands aren't great, you know, and even the great ones, the difference between a mediocre band being successful and a great band not being is because the guy was hustling a little bit harder.
Thank you. Hustle. It's the fucking hustle. Hold on, Razi, I see your hand. Oh, Eric, you and me, man, with nothing but trouble. This is what is fucking lacking. Like, I live in Hollywood. Don't hold it against me. And when I go to work, I walk past a whole bunch of people with CDs, hustling the CDs into your hands. And I asked one of these guys once, how many of these damn CDs do you sell? And he goes, oh, I'm here. I got a friend over on on Sunset, on the beach, Santa Monica Beach, and a friend down at Long Beach, like 3 dudes in the band. They'll give out 10,000 CDs. 10,000 CDs, and they hustle. And man, I fucking all hail the hustle. You've got to hustle. You must hustle. And if you get to define hustle however you want, remember, everything about you and your thing about music is creative problem solving. That's what music is. There's a whole bunch of notes. They don't make sense. The bass line doesn't work. These lyrics don't work. But you make them work because that's what you do. You're a musician who does creative problem solving. Here's a whole bunch of fucking problems. And not only does the end thing work, it sounds good and people are dancing to it. Not too many occupations in the world get people dancing to the solution. Accountants don't. Fucking architects don't. Musicians do, or singing along. So because you have this magical ability, use it for figuring out how you hustle. What crazy fucking thing can you do? And you know what? The more crazy it is that no one's ever done this before, I don't know if this is a good idea. That's a good sign. That's a really fucking good sign. Rezi, I saw your hand. Did you want to?
Yeah, it might change the energy a little bit. Like, it's a question though. There's at least one example that comes to mind that might be a counter example in some ways. And this is an Australian thing, so I don't know if you'll understand it, Carl. But the band Glass Beams seems to not do any of what we're talking about. That's their shtick. That's their appearance. They do the face with the cover. They have an extremely limited color palette. Their oeuvre is a couple of EPs, all with like, you know, the Sims linear melodic thing. The band plays the same parts in every song. Simple instrumentation. Like, it's really, really distilled and limited. And I think maybe that's part of the key to, they just put a picture of what they're doing up there. That's the impression. They don't talk on stage. They don't have captions accompanying their stuff, except for the stuff that's obviously marketing copy from the label. Like it says, it's an EP. That's the extent of it. Song titles, it's an EP, live, that kind of thing. But their presentation is just a high production value, well played, well composed, and interesting thing. And this connects to the our genre, at least, in that they covered the what is the album 21 Ragas over a disco beat, or 5 Ragas, whatever it is. They covered one of the Ragas over a disco beat. I haven't heard anybody else do that. They did it as a live act with backing tracks, so it does connect. So does this resonate with anybody as something like that's a counterexample of the hustle, or is that a better expression of the hustle for some people, or yeah, what's going on there?
That is the hustle. Like, because I've never heard of this band, so I just looked at them right now. And Australia's a really difficult place to deal with because it's very different to the rest of the world because of the size of the population. And Australia has a thing called Triple J, but that's another rant. A band in Australia... look, I don't know enough about this band, but like I take one look at this and I go, okay, interesting photo shoot for starters. It's a very clickable photo shoot. You know, the problem with industrial is it's, I'm going to stand in a back alley with a leather jacket on with one of my friends who's bald, and we're going to both wear sunglasses. And that's not very interesting. And Razi, like you said, the color palette here is really fucking good. Like, that's a great color. It's really earthy, very Australian. So, and I'm even looking at their album. It's all that beautiful ochre brownie colors and everything else.
Yep, honey tones and these vintage guitars made by an Australian guitar maker that are all kind of refurbed nicely and good looking, and the gold chains and the lighting and the vibe. It's very well put together. So that aside, also it speaks for itself, or it seems to. And whether or not there was some other person involved in creating that marketing, it seems intrinsic, it seems authentic, and it does say a lot of the things that we're talking about without the fuck yous so much, but without words and without an overt hustle, without standing on the corner so much. So it plays into the system, and it plays into our aesthetics in a way that is focused on how the industry already works without standing on the corner. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm going to argue that, well, you know what? Fuck arguing. They're standing on a corner.
Yes.
It's just that it's a different corner. And that's the thing, is that if you said that to an industrial band, they go, fuck no. they go, oh, I'm not going to wear that mask. I'll wear a gas mask. I'll do something different and wear a gas mask. And it's like, I just look at that band once and I go, well, Daft Punk wore masks. There's a lot of bands that wore masks, but nothing like that. Angelspit did a thing where there were masks. There's a whole bunch of, it's really well designed. Where somebody has sat down, even talking, like you said, to the color palette itself, has been really well thought out. But so, excuse me, I'm going to say, look, that's the part of the fun of making music, I think. Don't say it's all about the music, because it's not. It has never been about the fucking music. Said the people wearing a band t-shirt with a design on the band t-shirt or very well placed typography. How many fucking Kraftwerk albums, who are all about the music, no they're not, are so well designed? Like, fuck off. So see, this is another thing, is let that creative problem solving also make its way into the design of it, which is why I like to go, every album has got a concept. What is that concept? And the concept brings with it design, a color palette, as long as it's red, black, and white in my case. What are your corporate colors for your band? What is your corporate typography? Because the thing about the music industry is it's an industry. And the thing about an industry is you stick something in one end and you get money out the other end. Sorry, them's the facts. And in this situation, it's music. Music stops being artsy-fartsy music as soon as it touches the lips of the music industry, and then it is product. Because ultimately what you are saying to me is nobody wants to buy, not you, Rezi, but people who are pissed about, including myself, who are pissed about, people aren't looking at my stuff, aren't buying my stuff. What you're saying is people aren't interested in my brand and my product, because you're not treating it like a fucking brand and a fucking product. People do not know the difference between a brand and a product. However, it gets treated like a brand and a fucking product. When you are scrolling through your things, you are scrolling through products that you are going to fucking listen to with your time. Treat it like a fucking product. Make sure that the image that is going to be advertising your product isn't that so weirdly conceptual about music. Make sure it's the sort of thing that somebody wants to fucking click on. And this ties into what I was saying at the beginning of this, is that it's so hard to do this when you've lost hope. And when you have got to this point of, when you are so buried in a grave, when you are so covered in shit, it is hard to realize that you're in a grave, and realize you are in a hole, and realize that you are covered in shit. You must look up and you must get out. And it's my hope that me screaming at you and using lots of expletives somehow gives you the anger to get out of that fucking rut. As I'm trying to do it for myself. We just lost Eric. So this is a great example, Rezi, and I thank you for bringing it to it. It's an excellent example of a different hustle on a different street corner. That, if you haven't looked at them yet, please look at Glass Beams. And, if you saw that, you go, that looks interesting. And a thing I always love doing, take this or leave this, is get somebody else to listen to your music and say to them, what does this band look like? And if they're not into industrial music, even better. Because if they're into industrial music, they're going to say, oh, it's two guys with bald heads in leather jackets and sunglasses standing beside in front of a brick wall. No, you don't want that. Or it's a chick who's got a tartan skirt and probably little red bits in her hair. You don't want that either. Think about what other people imagine when they see the band, or imagine when they hear this music. What do you imagine? And it's really, I think the band is the worst person in the world to do this, because the band, come on, as a band, you want to sound like someone else. Like you can't hear yourself because you're doing all the talking. So let somebody who's listening to you not doing the talking, let them do the talking now, and let them say, "This is what you look like. This is what you sound like." Food for thought. Getting somebody else involved. Does anybody else want to jump in now? Does anybody want to talk about something? We took the Pill album to the extreme. Does anybody else want to?
Yeah, so I'd like to amend my count for how many ragas there were set to a disco beat. It is 10. 10
That's-
ragas to a disco beat.
That's
known
pretty
to
good.
be the official first acid 303 album in history. That's its sort of arbitrary claim.
Fantastic. I was talking to somebody only yesterday, actually, about drugs, and about how it's really interesting how different filters have different effects on you. Like I'm talking about a TB303 filter, and I'm not saying distorted either. I'm just saying how it has a different effect on your brain as opposed to a Minimoog, or opposed to a this or that or a D50. It's just fascinating what the images that it paints in your head. That's a nice subject that we could talk about now if you want.
I noticed in that same vein that the same sound forward versus reverse does something different in your brain.
I love that. Resi, do you have thoughts about this while you take over and I deal with Frank very quickly?
No, filter thoughts. I could probably come up with a few bullshit filter thoughts if I'm put on the spot while you're taking care of your cat. Go do it. Filter thoughts. Sometimes my email program on my phone defaults to filtered by only on read. And man, that is a low pass of, I got nothing. Hey, has anybody used, anybody of you two dudes, an external device as a filter that has a certain character to it? Have you run the stuff through something we're talking bell-shaped curve with a peak, high shelving, low pass, high pass, extreme resonance? Brett?
Yeah, I probably have on the quadriverb, and I mean, I guess you could say maybe guitar pedals count in that regard as well.
They fucking do.
So yeah, I mean, I've early on, like with Maddox and everything, I was running vocals through it. Actually,
Visual aid as an example.
Yeah. It's the death metal pedal that I've got sitting right here. There it is.
Nice. Yes.
Now,
Indeed. It literally does say death metal.
It really does. I'm not going to say that the vocals are any longer intelligible.
Well, that gives you a head start. You can start out without them being intelligible anyway, and just mumble something into the mic and get some good crispy death metal stuff out on the other side. I have one external fixed filter bank that's a 1, 2, 3, 4 with a high pass, I think, but it's parametric, and it's really like it's voltage through variable resistors, so it's really crusty, and if you like sweep something, it makes dirt noise, and I'm never gonna clean it, and I'm never gonna like have it recapped or anything because it's got a certain character. And I've used it as a bass preamp, and I use it as a through send back into gear. Just, you can do a parametric filter pretty effectively in your DAW. That is a thing that we have solved.
Yeah,
but there aren't a lot of them. Go ahead, Brett. Yeah.
Well, I was just going on with you there. I mean, when it comes to I don't have a lot of external ones, but you want to talk about DAW filters now. Shoot, I've got a million of them just on this track.
Well, pick one. What's one that does something unique, though? Like, that's the challenge. Like, there are so many of them. What makes it unique? Why do you go for it? What did it do?
M-Rhythmizer. It's an FL Studio. It allows you to sit there and apply essentially a sequence to a sound, and you can forward, reverse, chop up, however you want to apply that sequence. And Yeah, in this particular case, I'm using it against a piano part.
Nice. Ivan, I was gonna preemptively, I knew you have something in your hand that you pulled out of your rack and has filter capabilities. What is it?
My Polyvox,
Oh, wow. Okay.
just an
Jeez.
implementation of a Polyvox filter, but there's two of them here, and they have CV control.
I gotta tell you, man, I've tried so hard to get into Polyvox filters. I've never been out. Like I had one, I can't remember, one like the Polyvox filter, and then I got the Red Dragon. And I just never got into it. Like I've heard some people do some fantastic stuff with it, but it's kind of like a Russian version of a Wasp. Whereas I like the Wasp, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I haven't actually owned a Polyvox or touched been in the same room as a Polyvox even, but I saw Tara Bush do something with one once that was like, oh wow, that thing's fucking, she's doing stuff.
Hmm. Are we talking about filters?
Oh, just the keyboard. She has in her rack of stuff. It was the actual synth.
Right,
in
but now we're
Polyvox.
talking about filters.
She was doing a filter sweep in this thing though. Like that's, you know, the voice of the thing is when you start, you get all the oscillators going, you do something with that filter. So yeah.
Here's a question. Do y'alls use do you ever use bandpass filters, notch filters, or high pass filters? Because here's a trick. The most devastating bass you've ever heard in your life is a high pass filter. Yeah, you put a resonant peak on a high pass filter. Because if you put a resonant peak on a low pass filter, the chunk of it is there and then the resonant peak's up here. But if you put a resonant peak on a high pass filter, the resonant peak is right at the bottom where it's falling off. So not only does it fall off and it's tight down there, but there's this great big thump. And if you track that to be the same pitch as the key that you're in, as the note you're playing, you will get terrifying bass.
Yeah, I mean notches all the time for sure. And my go-to is just the really high steep curve 2448 dB per octave, whatever it is, in Ableton, and just bring them narrow and, you know, move the two knobs at once kind of thing. Kind of like an MS-20 where you've got basically two filters to work with. One of them's high, one of them's low, and you can make resonant peaks and bring them close together for extra resonance. I think that's how it works. But for sure, there's a lot of resonant peak, but it's like band pass in that way is similar to parametric or even graphic with all the faders down and turn one up. There's a fine line between what each of these topologies does. And I'm always really interested in these controls of the filters because that influences what the filter sounds like by what you can put your hands on almost more than the way that the filter is designed, you know, in a lot of ways. So yeah. Carl, do you have a specific band pass? I want to say band pass every time.
I for my band pass, I don't know. Obviously the Moog one is incredible. But it's I'm just gonna go out. I'm gonna say possibly the best filter I own is the Colin 1047 off the ARP 2500. And this is actually out of an ARP 2500. It's not a clone. It's out of an ARP 2500. I've also got the ARP 1006 low pass. So the 1047, the Collins filter, is it's only 12. That's another thing, man. I am really getting into 12 dB filters.
It's not gentle. It's not
Yeah,
destructive. It's
I'm really
the right
getting
spot.
Yeah. Because the great thing about a 12 dB is it's got the thump, but it's still got some high-end definition to it. I've always been about the 24, but I'm loving the 12. The Collins filter is, and I believe Adam knows his daughter, who's from Boston. The Collins filter is the most beautiful sounding filter I've ever heard. You put something into it and it changes it. It doesn't just filter it. It does something to the characteristic of the sound that I have never heard before. Like, sure, Moog similar, but not like this. And it's interesting that I think I want to. I love a band part, like I love a notch on pads is just the best, and obviously the notch is really slowly moving, so you get that kind of like phasey sound. Once again, the colon is the best notch I've ever heard. It's a really good band pass, beautiful distortion. The resonance sounds like cream. It's so beautiful resonance, and the high pass is just luscious. But it's the thing about a band pass is that I want to put a low pass into it so you can get the attack on it, because a band pass with like an envelope attack sort of, it's never really had it for me. But if you've got that kind of like low pass, typical like clicky thumpy attack going into a band pass, that's really, really, really good, because you're getting rid of a whole bunch of shit that you don't need as far as frequencies and stuff go. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, I like frequencies and stuff.
Yeah, I know, but yeah. I don't know, but it's just that, the thing about like when I use a low pass all the time, there's all of these low frequencies that don't need to be in it. And another thing I'm trying to get into is moving the frequency point of the filter with the note, or at least tracking it or half tracking it or something. It gives a really lovely sound.
Yeah, you got to use your ears for that, though. You got to like be intentional about it and like notice what it's doing, because you could lose something if you're not careful with it. That's cool. There's a lot of discussion about that, about just shelving off all the low end of everything, like just removing DC offset, and everything below 8 hertz is exactly what you have to shelve, and everything below 20 should be removed, and just because it cleans up the mud from your tracks, quote unquote. You see this a lot, and somebody always chimes in with the absolutely don't, and somebody always chimes in with the I always do this on every track, and I sold 1 million records, so I'm the one who's right. But can we say there's no rule about that?
No, there's no rule about it. Yeah. I am now getting into, I high pass absolutely everything, even the kick drum, even the bass, even the sub bass, because I'm working with analogs, and analogs have got a whole bunch of shit going on down there. Even if it's fucking burping, farting, whatever, and I'm recording that stuff. And I have learnt that actually the May stuff, the first stuff to be released that's done on Cubase 13, where I'm seeing the amount of crazy, the amount of fucking, even my sound, my engineering, my mastering guy came back and said they sound a lot better. Still, even be careful of 30 cycles. And if I've got hi-hats, everything under 400 goes easily under 400. Like if I have a secondary bass, everything under 80 goes, maybe even 120. If it's not actively down there, it's got to go. That's what I do anyway, because don't you worry, baby, my kick and my sub are absolutely fucking populating the area down there. And plus, if you pull the kick and the sub out, suddenly you've got this totally different sound to the mix, then you bring them back in. That's what I think. I see Ivan's hand. Would it be all right if I asked Ivan what Ivan's thinking? Ivan, what are you thinking? Ivan, your hand is up. All right, that's no hand on. Okay, I'm sorry. So yeah, that's my thoughts on filters. Actually, I've got so many thoughts on filters. It's fucking crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And then that's the beauty of using something digital, because it's creating sound that's got a whole bunch. I'm talking like DX7, the additive shit. There's a whole bunch of high end stuff going on in there. Yeah. So blah. And also, man, kill me for saying this, but the low end of a DX7 is actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really, I never really thought that. I just thought it was crap because it's digital and I'm a snob. But it's like, it's beautifully, it's fantastically defined.
It's tight. There's one of the first 2 default patches, or and the 3, it might be even patch 1, is a FM bass that's kind of woody and kind of attacky and has a really perfect balance of the low end that I've heard on, well, in innumerable records, but yeah.
Mm. I think there was a period in the 80s where 60% of the tracks had DX7 on them and 30% used the same presets. But man, I'm telling you, no, it
DX Rhodes, it's the sound of the 80s.
It really is beautifully glassy. But no, it's a great synth, really, really good synth, and it's, I don't know, I'm forever always learning, and that's, you know, I'm always going this. There's things you can do on like analogs to make them even more out of tune, and that's great. But you can run into problems doing that when you're in the bass. Yes, I'm learning. Like if you're fucking doing something like John Fox, you know, the mathematics stuff and the maths, where there's not a lot going on, you can get away with having crazy fat stuff. But when you start layering tracks up, and when a lot of frequencies are, you know, populating the same area, you've got to be really careful, I think. Your hands up. What are you saying?
Mm-hmm. When you were talking about shelving off low frequencies kind of unilaterally, I was thinking like, yeah, I mean, if you're clipping your inputs at the recording stage and you're getting red peaks and taking off some of the bottom gives you more headroom. And then I was thinking like, we don't really want for headroom. Like, what are you getting above the noise floor? If your mic pre's and A to D's have a noise floor, I'm very surprised because damn, they're low. And obviously the dynamic range of even, like 16 bits is beyond the threshold of hearing and stuff. So we've got all this range and we've got fantastic preamps. And so anyway, it just led me to wonder, does anybody care about recording level anymore? Is it, are you free to just bring it down so that you're capturing all of the peaks? No compression on the way in, just get the whole thing. Trust that the dither is so far down below anything that you need that you don't worry about it? Or is that a going concern?
Me personally, I aim for -6. I don't really compress stuff going in or use a preamp. I think the Focusrite has a preamp. I don't know. But I fuck the sounds up so much before they even get to that stage that I can afford to go, yeah, I just have to watch that. And plus, if there's frequencies in there, I high pass, low pass out those frequencies. I just get rid of them.
So you're getting that sound recorded the way that you heard it.
Yeah, commit. What about you, Brett?
So in terms of the input mixes, yeah, I was even looking at FL Studio here. A lot of times on the way in, I'm actually down like -9, -12 even. It depends on the instrument. But what I am trying to avoid is that clipping and that distortion, and the tools for bringing volume up to where you need them are just too good. I can sit there, I mean, denoising, de-essing, all that kind of stuff, great. You give yourself a little bit of lead time, rip it straight out of the mix at the end of it. And the lower the volume is, I found at that point, on the way in, the easier it is to make that absolutely silent when you need it to actually be back up.
I'm with you on that 100%. And further, I don't think that you need processing tools to bring it up. You just normalize it so that your highest sample is 0 dBFS, and that's the whole range. You've got it all there. You don't need to. We will compress and change the gain staging and distort and clip and do all that stuff. But functionally, you're capturing the whole sound. The noise floor and peaks are a range of, let's say they're 30 decibels. You've got 144 to work with.
The other thing that I actually try to do is I jack the bit rate up as high as my electronics will allow on the way in. Now you can't hear it. I don't care how good your ears are. You can't hear the difference at those levels. But I would rather have the data to remove from that and be lacking of any of those frequencies or samples or bits or whatever, and need them.
Yeah, it's not exactly a myth, but a little bit of a misconception in that you will never need 96K data. Like, yeah, if you pitch convert the stuff, you might want to just bitrate sample and have it all there. Like, that is a thing we do. Agreed fully on, it's not an audio perception difference. Like, once you print the thing at 44.1 kilohertz, we've got the full range of 0 hertz to 20 hertz represented, and anybody that can hear 20 hertz is fully satisfied by the 44.1 kilohertz range. That's fine. But on the production side, if you're sampling at 192, you can now pitch that down to 44.1 and have a lot of high frequencies that the birds and lizards like to use. That might be interesting. If your microphone and shit picks that up, that's another question. But, you know, if they do.
You know, and I'll give you that, you know, the other thing that you end up doing is when you do those compressions, limiting and such later on, you get cool distortions out of it. You know, you know, like take a bass instrument coming in where we were talking about the filters and whatnot there. Send the top frequencies. What are we looking at here? Because Carl will send me a bag of poo if I don't get this right. Above 400 and like 5K, 10K, man, especially on clean bass sounds where I don't have any kind of room noise or anything like that, I'll send those all the way to their peaks just to get that extra distortion out of the bass. And the distortion's a wrong term for it. It has this, it had like any bass has like this percussive kind of very fast thing happening. And most of the time it gets lost in the lower frequencies.
I hear you. And one of the other features of very close to what you're talking about in sample rate conversion, resampling, and bit reduction, like a lot of what we listened to and were influenced by was sort of built on resampled on Sonic Mirage, you know, lo-fi stuff with a shitload of aliasing. And that's like lower frequencies flipping around to become audible as higher frequencies is the alias of that frequency. So you get this shimmery crust on top of your speech sample of a preacher talking about brimstone stuff, or on the kick drum or on the bass sound. And there's this squelching, teeth hurting high end that you get from doing your bit reduction that, hey, that's sort of the birthright of industrial music genres there.
If I may, two things. One, and I want to come back to that. Rob brings up a really good point about how the reason why high pass works on bass is because it acts like a pulse width modulator to increase the power under the high pass wave shape, which makes it hit with more energy. I've never thought about that. That's fascinating. Two, thank you Cubase 13 for now showing me all the wiggly lines of the frequency spectrum. As everybody knows, I use the Emacs all the time, and it has exactly what you just mentioned. But I went through like listening to what's in the high end of the Emacs, and listening to the really quite noticeable sizzle that's up there, for want of a better word. I actually ended up filtering everything in the Emacs. A lot of the Emacs takes, there's a low pass filter, like really steep, 36 dB per octave, around about 10K. I'm pulling that shit out because it's adding sizzle that's getting in the way of everything. There's still an amount of grit, and the grit is now still audible, but it's not messy, hurty brittliness. And a fucking awesome thing is I'm really getting in the habit of putting a multi-band compressor over everything, as you do. But I'm putting a side chain with the kick drum to the highest region of the multiband. So it's ducking, kind of like, you know, that EBM, like, you know how that they've got that side chain compression to the kick drum, which is sucking the volume out of stuff. I'm doing it to the high end of the samples and stuff that is secondary. So when it hits, the that high end sizzle and grit is falling on the offbeat. Know what I mean? You know how we make the pads breathe like that? I'm doing the same thing with this, and you can fucking hear it. Fascinating stuff. Thank you, multi-band compression, that you can sidechain to the kick. Woohoo! That's all I got. Sound, man. I've been doing this shit for so long, and I still have so much to fucking learn.
Do it now while you can still hear most of those frequencies.
Yeah.
So get on it.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I was looking at it going, oh, I can't hear anything above, 16. And then I was looking at the specs of the headphones, and I went, oh, thank God, the headphones, they start really falling off around about there. But I'm pedantic about my hearing, man. Fucking pedantic about it. I'm going to nominate that we call it. Diane, if you're still there, unless anybody else wants to throw in something fantastic at this point, because there's been a whole bunch of fantasticness being thrown in. All right, thank you, Diana. Does anybody else want to bring up anything last minute, or do we want to?
Yeah, I have a quick one while we're wrapping up and ready to throw to MTV TV. The experience of taking some tapes out of a box from like '95 and noticing that my bandmate Jason had made safety copies, digital clones of all of the master tapes. This is the best experience I've had all week. There's 3 tapes for 24 tracks, and then 3 more tapes for 24 tracks of safety backup 1-to-1 digital clone. And I said, that is wow. Even
that's great.
Back in the day, it was so
that's fucking great.
It was a moment.
Oh man, I want to talk about at some point about different attitudes to recording, trying to record with the mindset of dedicating to tape. That's a big conversation. It's an inspiring conversation that I want to have. Anyway, this is the Art of Rock. Every Saturday we are here on Angelspit's Twitch and other places. Please be joining us. Angelspit's Patreon keeps me going. I try to keep you guys going. If you got $3 a month, send it my way, and it'll help me give Frank expensive tuna. If you're looking another place to hang out with other musicians, Sounds and Shadows on Facebook is a mighty fine place to be a part of. There's a fantastic playlist called the Industrial Incisions playlist. It's Trey fantasticness. Hold on, I'm still going because I'm trying to make it look like I'm really fucking smooth here, and I'm definitely not smooth. Go like Industrial Incisions and follow it and all that crazy stuff. There's a big thank you again to Razzie for co-hosting. Fucking go support the Resonator because Razzie's awesome. But now we're going to zoom on over, right on over to MTV TV. If you're watching on another thingo, that's where we're going. Twitch, MTV TV, you're going to find your new favorite band there. If you've got a video, you're going to find an audience there. I absolutely guarantee it. So, Diana, let's raid. And we're all going to hang back here for a bit and fucking chat while you're raiding and all that jazz. And you guys can tell me when it's raided, if it raids, because that's just life. That's just life. It's just life. That's my new song. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, no, maybe not though. Yeah, so how's that raid going?
It rated on my screen.
Fantastic. Then
So
we
on
shall
Facebook.
count it. Thank you. We're going to hang back here and chat.